Hi, my name is Rowan, and this is my reflection on Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neal Hurston. Check out the details below for the transcript. Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neal Hurston is a piece of fiction that is both enthralling and entertaining. I've got to be honest though, at first I wasn't even sure I was going to enjoy it, and I'm not sure it's a book that I would have picked up on my own. I much prefer fantasy and action or romance and supernatural themes more than anything, but I can't say I didn't enjoy having been given this assignment. So, the book starts out in a disjointed way, telling the story from a narrative perspective to set the mood and the flow of the story. And I've always found nonlinear stories an interesting and underutilized way to tell a story. I think if anything is done well, then it can be enjoyable. And the foreshadowing included in the beginning of the book actually reminded me of Romeo and Juliet, though it's not nearly as obvious of what we would be encountering throughout the story and in the end of it. The beginning of the story has this. So the beginning of this was a woman, and she had come back from burying the dead. Not the dead of the sick and ailing with friends at the pillow and the feet. She had come back from the sodden and the bloated, the sudden dead, their eyes flung wide open in judgment. With all of this in mind, it's actually how I approach the story, not that it was difficult to get into by any means. The initial theme that's introduced, it has to do with a pear tree that the main character Janie herself finds herself under. She was stretched out on her back beneath the pear tree, soaking in the alto chant of the visiting bees, the gold of the sun, and the panting breath of the breeze when the inaudible voice of it all came to her. She saw a dust-bearing bee sink into the sanctum of a bloom, the thousand sister calyxes arched to meet the love embrace, and the ecstatic shiver of the tree from root to tiniest branch creaming in every blossom and frothing with delight. So this was a marriage. She had been summoned to behold a revelation. Already, the imagery and the figurative language that Hurston uses help create a sense of emotion that Janie feels. Hurston has great skill in this, immersing us into a story and yet also as the character of Janie. The limited, omniscient point of view makes it so we are able to learn and feel and play out as Janie, intentionally so. While there are some scenes that would place us elsewhere, there's still the emotion of Janie present. It's clear that Hurston had written everything carefully and with purpose, be it from the ongoing theme of the tree to the skillful way in which he used the dialect of the peoples. I think it would have been incredibly weird to be immersed in a story and yet suddenly be taken from it by improper writing, because Hurston is very appropriate with her choice of words and use of the dialect. So, let's be real here. Obviously, I'm not a child and have had my fair share experiences in life. And while my life would seem far less exciting than Janie's, I can actually sympathize with the way that she is pressed for, and some might even say desperate for love. She has this young and idealistic view of what love really is. And I actually think it's sweet and relatable that all Janie strives for is love, something she didn't achieve with her first two husbands. She definitely felt a content, true to herself sort of love with tea cake, and I say sort of love because I can't help wonder if she really loved tea cake, the way he treated her, or the life she was able to have with him. And I bring this up because after years of love, of exploration, I can say that my view of it when I was younger, teenager, was different and innocent, because isn't that how we all view love to be or wish for it to be? That's certainly how most media would depict love to be, and exactly what Hurston spends most of the book proving otherwise. I feel that this plays into another vital part of the story. Hurston works on showing the maturing of a woman and the idealization of love and reality. I feel that the development of self is important, and even the main theme of the book. So, on a different topic, or as different as it can be when discussing the same book, I think it's important to bring focus onto Janie and her hair. It's a vital part of the story that's told because it actually is highlighted for good reason. Being of mixed heritage, Janie is not seen as equal to other black people because of her hair, as is said in the beginning of the book. The men noticed her firm buttocks, like she had grapefruits in her hip pockets. The great rope of black hair swinging to her waist and unraveling in the wind like a plume. than her pugnacious breasts trying to bore holes in her shirt. This means that her beauty is not just measured by not just the look of her face, but the uniqueness of her hair. This, I believe, can be related to Compton Nocturne by Alison Sarr. This is a sculpture we had actually seen in the museum, and it's a great relatable representation of the hair expressions we see in Their Eyes Are Watching God. When looking at and taking in the piece, it's something that can be read on a surface and on a deeper level. I can't even say that my interpretation of it is correct, but I feel that the bottles on the ends of the hair are a sign of the bad energy, especially given the roots of the bottle tree tradition that is attributed to the hair. I know that it can even be interpreted per the tradition as collecting the energy and bottling it up, but I feel that it's also signifying that the hair actually invites the bad energy of mixed heritage. As Sarah is also of mixed heritage like Janie, she would experience firsthand the hate and discrimination, even if it's in the opposite way that Janie does. As Sarah would have likely been seen as less than white people, Janie probably would have been seen as better than black people. It's important to realize that a lot of what Janie feels about her hair is immediately attributable to the way her life was. When she was with Jody, she was told to tie up her hair and hide it. When he died, she was liberated. She tore off the kerchief from her head and let down her plentiful hair. The weight, the length, the glory was there. She took careful stock of herself, then combed her hair and tied it back up again. The power of these lines. Janie is taking control. She knows what she had to do for Jody Stark. Been beaten down by all of the abuse she endured, and she was sick of it. When he died, she felt free, and yet knew that it also mattered in a way that many would not understand. Then she starched and ironed her face, forming it into just what people wanted to see. Her view of herself changed once more, and it's what she needed to be free, which led her to becoming the woman she always wanted to be with tea cake at her side, and knowing a love she'd been denied for decades. Their Eyes Are Watching God is a masterpiece that I didn't know I would appreciate when I started it. Hurston was not playing around when she wrote this, and the fact that I had never heard of her earlier should be a crime. I thank Professor V for having us read it, and while I thought I would get rid of the book after I read it, I don't think I'll ever part from it. Thank you for your time in watching and listening to my reflection on Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston.